So what's the one thing, the real thing, that separates a free society from just chaos? It's not just about having laws on the books. It's about having a trusted referee to enforce them. And that's exactly what we're diving into today, the judicial branch. They're basically the ultimate guardians of our freedom. All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so to really get why the courts are so important, let's try a little thought experiment. Picture a big game. Think of any sport you love. Football, basketball, whatever. Now imagine trying to play that game with absolutely no rule book and a biased referee.
What would that even look like, right? Imagine the referee is just making calls based on who they like better. The rules just change in the middle of the game. Maybe one team gets 5 points for a touchdown, but the other only gets 1. What do you think happens in a system like that?
Yeah, you got it. Just pure chaos. Total unfairness. The whole thing just collapses. Why would you even bother playing, right? All your skill, all your hard work, it becomes completely meaningless. The players would just walk off the field, the game falls apart, and the whole thing feels like a complete joke. Well, believe it or not, that chaotic, broken game, that is exactly what a society looks like without something called the rule of law. All predictability just vanishes. The strong can just take whatever they want from the weak. In a system like that, might makes right, and power is the only thing that matters. So, what is this powerful idea? What's the thing that stands between a society that actually works and, well, total chaos? It's a concept called the rule of law, and honestly, it's the foundation for pretty much everything we value.
So what does that actually mean? In a nutshell, it's the core idea that the law itself is king, not a person, not a group, the law. It's this set of established rules that we've all agreed to live by, and they get applied to every single person in every single institution. No exceptions.
This whole idea really boils down to 3 simple but super powerful principles. First off, nobody is above the law. Not the richest person, not the most powerful leader. Nobody gets a free pass. Second, the law is applied the same way to everybody. It doesn't play favorites. And finally, the rules themselves have to be fair and they have to be clear.
And the result of all this? It's huge. When the rule of law is strong, people can actually live their lives without constant fear. You can start a business, you can raise your family, you can speak your mind, all without worrying that some authority is just going to change the rules on a whim and punish you for no good reason.
Okay, so this is where the courts come in. This is the role of the judiciary. If the rule of law is the foundation we've been talking about, then you can think of the courts as its primary defenders. They literally act as a shield, protecting all of us from the overreach of power.
Now, this is a really important point. The courts don't make the laws. That's Congress's job. The court's job is to be the referee. They hold up every law, every action the government takes, and they measure it against the ultimate rulebook, the Constitution. They're making sure everything lines up.
So who exactly are they protecting with this shield? Well, a whole lot of people. They make sure someone accused of a crime gets a fair trial. They protect all of us citizens from unjust laws that might get passed. They protect minorities from the pressures of mob rule. And, maybe most importantly, they protect the Constitution itself, making sure it's still there for future generations. And this whole shield idea, it also plays this huge role in our entire system of government. The courts are a critical piece of our system of checks and balances, which is all about making sure no one branch of government gets way too powerful.
You can think of them as the guardians of the boundary lines. Let's go back to that game analogy for a second. If you picture Congress and the president as 2 super powerful teams on the field, well, the courts are the referees. They're the ones making sure both teams stay in bounds and play by the rules we all agreed on. So, how does this actually work in the real world? How does this check happen? It's basically a 3-step process. Step 1, another branch does something. Congress passes a law, or the executive branch issues an order. Step 2, the judiciary gets to review it. The courts take that action and measure it against the Constitution. And then, step 3, a check is applied. If that law or action doesn't measure up, if it's unconstitutional, the courts can strike it down. Boom, power checked.
Okay, so I know we've been talking about some pretty big, high-level ideas here. Checks and balances, the rule of law. But how does any of this actually connect to your daily life? Why should what happens in some courthouse far away really matter to you?
Well, for one thing, this whole idea of justice, it's not just some modern political thing. It's a really deep human value. Scripture teaches that justice is actually a part of righteousness. Long before our government was even a thought, people understood that justice is fundamental to being a good person and living in a good society.
So a healthy justice system, one that's really working, it kind of becomes a mirror for these higher values. When the courts are reflecting fairness and honesty and truth, those values tend to spread throughout the rest of society. A country that really honors justice is a country where people can truly, genuinely thrive.
And you can really see the difference it makes in daily life. I mean, the contrast is just stark. In a system with honest justice, people walk with confidence. Their rights are protected. Disputes get settled fairly. But in a corrupt system, fear spreads like wildfire. The weak get taken advantage of, and power just becomes a weapon. The health of the justice system really shapes how life feels for everybody.
And this is why understanding all this is so empowering. When you get how the judiciary works, you're just a more effective citizen. It gives you the tools you need to evaluate leaders, to look at new laws, and to understand policies with a really clear mind. So, to help make this all a little more concrete, I've got a challenge for you. Find one Supreme Court case. It can be a famous one or something totally obscure, doesn't matter. Then, just try to explain its impact in a single sentence. See if you can nail down how that one decision protected or changed or maybe just clarified one of our constitutional rights.
Because in the end, it really all boils down to this one simple, powerful truth. Freedom survives when justice stays strong. You just can't have one without the other. They're totally inseparable.